The answers are inside you. They're just waiting for the right question. I just love this quote. I read it today on Facebook from a friend of mine I just recently added, and it rang so true. The answers are all inside you. They are just waiting for the right question. Can you feel that? I mean, really, can you feel that? All the possibilities of everything you ever need is already inside you. You don't need to become anything more than what you already are, because you are it. But you won't have the opportunity to express what you are if you don't ask the right question, or if you're not given the appropriate circumstance. Because see, life is a great teacher. Life makes us, forces us to ask questions. When life presents itself with a challenge, you have no option but to ask the question, how do I solve this? You're not given a choice. If you're hungry, you have to ask the question and then act on it. How do I satisfy my hunger? You know, if you're drowning because you were in a boat and it sank, you have to ask the question, how will I swim? Because if you don't, you'll die. If you're in a bad relationship and you feel the hurt and the pain, you have to ask yourself, how do I take care of this? You know, so the answers that are already inside you will just bubble up to the surface and rearrange themselves in such a way that they handle the situation you now have. The answers are all inside you. You just need to ask the right question. Well, how do you know what the right question is, right? How? I would like to say you mainly don't know what the right question is, but you do have a sense of inner feeling, you get me? That you have when you're on the way to asking the right question. You have a deep inner sense of, yeah, that's it. When you're asking the right question, you feel certain openness when you're asking the right question. For example, at any given time, you can ask a positive question, a question oriented on solutions, or you could ask a negative question, a question that's oriented, at what could go wrong or why you can't do that. Now, you can realize by asking a solution-oriented question that you indeed have no ways of putting that into action. For example, let's say you want to, learn how to swim, okay? But you have no lake or no sea or no swimming pool or no nothing where you could learn how to swim in your vicinity. Now, if you're attempting to do that, but you don't have the means to do it, then of course you have no chance, but you see this by proposing to yourself, okay, how do I learn how to swim? Well, you're just gonna go to the seaside. But see, you get the solution by asking the right question. What we almost always do is make affirmations, and affirmations aren't exactly questions. You make affirmations like, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough to do this. What this does is basically answer the question, how do I do this? You're answering the question, how do I do this, by the answer, I just can't. So asking the question in the first place is redundant, and I shouldn't even be asking the question, how can I do this? But indeed, you do have all the answers inside you. You just aren't asking the right questions. And it's not up to me to tell you what the right question is. Nobody, really nobody can tell you. Not your best friend, not your loved one, not your mom, not your dad, not your sister or brother. They will give an opinion. They will say maybe what worked for them or for a friend they knew, but they will have no clue on what could work for you. So lighten up. Just lighten up, laugh a little, breathe deep, like and slow down. Because when you slow down, you really get a chance to tap into that inner genius you have. You know, poets in antiquity believed that their inspiration, their writing, didn't come from themselves. They thought it came from the muses or from their genie. The genie was a non-human entity that lived, in the etheric space, and that whispered the poems or the inspiration into their ear. So in a sense, it was them who were writing the work, but they were actually detached from the work. And maybe if you quiet down and listen to that voice, you can call that the voice of intuition if the genie explanation is way too metaphysical for you, then you will hear the right answers, or you will hear the right questions, because the answers indeed are all inside you. If you don't have the answer right now, if you're making affirmations right now instead of asking questions, questions are open-ended. They leave room for the possibility that you could answer them. Affirmations are definitive. They bring closure. If you say, I'm not good enough, then you're not good enough. There's no point in you even trying. But if you're asking the question, how can I be good enough? Then you're looking for ways to become from where you are now to where you want to be. Okay? Now, you really do have to ask questions and make a really honest assessment of what your current level actually is, because you may not be the king of the world, you may not have all the skills you desire, but you do have some level of skill, and it's important for you to really assess that. So you could ask the critical thinking question here: how good are my abilities in this field of expertise really? And when you give answer to that, you can then set a new question. Okay, now based on this, where do I want to go? Where do I want to be? And you set a deadline. Where do I want to be in 6 months? Where do I want to be in a year? Where do I want to be in 5 years? And then you ask the question, okay, how do I bring this about? Because there is a way to bring this about. All the answers are already inside you. You just need to maybe regroup all those Lego pieces you have inside you. You may need to combine what you already know in ways you haven't combined it before, or maybe you have to come up with different answers. Maybe you have to reach deep down and talk with your genius and come up with new answers, but the answers are indeed there. You already know all you have to know, but you have to be given the opportunity to manifest what you already know. For example, take this. Does a soldier have a battlefield if there is no war? He doesn't. There isn't the circumstance that he can use his qualities. There is no question that has him as the answer. Now, people are always asking questions, and you're asking questions too, and the answers to many of your questions are, let's say, a movie. You may not feel like you're asking a question, but when you see a movie that you really enjoy, that is answering a deep yearning or a deep longing that can be translated into a question. You can translate everything into a question. Even affirmations you can translate into questions. Even needs or even desires you can translate into questions. And you can get into that habit. I can tell you how to do it. I'm just telling you this can be done. Doing it is up to you. So if you want to create more value for you and for other people, find the questions they're asking to which you could be, or your life could be, the answer. Let's say people ask the question, how can I make more money? Almost everybody asks this. Well, now, If you have the kind of life that manages to make money, or the quantity of money they desire, then your life is an answer to the question they're asking. Of course, they knew how to do what you do. They had the answers, but maybe they didn't see them. Maybe they weren't asking the right questions. And maybe if you pose the question to them, if you encourage people to ask certain questions, then they will indeed ask those questions, and they will indeed come up with the answers. And from those answers will the reality stem. So ask questions. Really ask questions, but try to ask open-ended questions oriented to solutions, to why you can do something rather than why you can't, or rather to how you can do something. And then get and do it and see how that works for you. I believe it will work, but see for yourself. Don't take my word for it. I'll see you again next time.